What do you think of when I say the word beauty? Is it shallow and unimportant, or empowering and creative? Do you only think of products, or do you ever think of wellness?
Young people frequently confuse self-esteem with self-image.
Innovation?
Where his company basically builds these small machines doing everything that you would do in a lab on a little chip.
Or jungle exploration?
They follow these jaguars day in, day out. You get really nailed by the elements, let's say.
Beauty plays an essential role in the human experience, but often we do not take it very seriously. Hello again. I'm Isabella Rossellini. I'm an actress, I'm a model. And in season 1 of This Is Not a Beauty podcast, I set out on a mission to discover the hidden role beauty plays in modern life. And now I am back with even more stories for season 2. From sport.
I feel like stepping on the court with my outfits is me transforming into a different person.
And business.
Here in Grasse, we grow plants for the perfumery since the 16th century, but it was nearly the bankrupt of growing flowers 20 years ago.
To internet culture.
If you look at the Get Ready With Me hashtag on TikTok, it's got over 42.2 billion views.
Together we'll travel from London.
I had this studio in Finsbury Park almost 30 years.
To Brazil.
In Brazil, the first key motivation is happiness. When we compare, for example, to the Americans in US, it's healthy.
To Sicily.
Tanto perché noi non sapevamo nemmeno cosa fosse una skincare.
And upstate New York.
I like the open door policy of the barbershop where people come into the shop just to crack a beer before they're going out into the town.
To get to the heart of how beauty is woven into our world in ways we don't even realize. So, this is not a beauty podcast. It is a business podcast, a sports podcast, a tech podcast, and today it is a science podcast. Brought to you by L'Oreal Groupe. Ciao, it's good to be back. You may know me as an actress and as a model, but I'm also an ethologist, a scientist who studies animal behavior. In fact, in my 60s, I decided to go back to university for a master's degree in this subject. So I am so excited to share that in our first story, we'll hear from Lizzie Daly, a wildlife biologist and a TV presenter who travels the world studying the behavior of animals, big or small. Our producer, Gigi, spoke to Lizzie about how she prepares for expeditions in extreme environments that go from the Amazon to the Arctic.
So I'm currently sat in a place called Ahmed. It's a kind of a sleepy town in Indonesia and Bali. Along the shores, if you go just a few meters out, you are face to face with a wall of coral. The diversity of coral here is incredible. And on top of that, they've got green turtles and hawksbill turtles, and hawksbill turtles are critically endangered. They have this kind of beautiful pattern, and they're here very much feeding on the coral. So you can see tens of them on one dive or one snorkel, and the visibility is incredible. Even after spending many, many years as a diver, I'm still blown away by what we have here on our planet. It's just beautiful.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Can you tell me more about your career? Like, what kind of science do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess where my love and interest first began, which was elephants. And so I went away to Kenya to spend some time on the ground there and understand more about what the challenges are between humans and elephants. And that's when I found Swansea University's biologging lab. And to put it simply, they measure fine-scale behaviour and movement of all sorts of different species. So GPS collars, which you might have seen in documentaries or on television, where they have that kind of big collar that sits around the neck, they really help you understand where an animal is going by constantly having GPS points that are sent up to a satellite and then back to scientist base. They tell you where that animal is going. And that's kind of been a big part of my PhD. Well, that is my PhD and has been for the past 5-6 years now, part-time, which is a long time.
That's incredibly cool. What are the different environments you're working in, and what are the kind of animals that go along with that? Maybe some of the more extreme varieties of environments.
So I've worked in hostile environments, everything from deep in the Amazon and in rainforest environments, which arguably are some of the most hostile and hard to work in because everything breaks. It's so humid that the moisture just gets inside all of the cameras. Everything's just kind of done within a few weeks. So including yourself, right? But also places like the Arctic, where you've got high winds that are bringing down temperatures to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Oceans as well. I've spent many a day on a boat in scorching heat, or face in a snorkel kind of 6-7 hours trying to film a certain behavior or a coral reef or something, and it's 40-degree heat beating down on you. It's the beauty of the natural world. But out of all of those, I'd say one of my favorite tagging projects was the jaguars in the Pantanal, and the Pantanal sits in Brazil. It's the world's largest tropical wetland, and it is phenomenal. It's so beautiful.
What does like a day in the life look like when you're on a project that's tagging jaguars?
Yeah, so I should say that this was predominantly for filming a series, and the beauty of that is we were working alongside a team called On Safari, a jaguar conservation charity, and the team is extraordinary. I mean, they follow these jaguars day in, day out. They know them individually. And a day in the life, it depends which day. If you're talking about actually collaring the jaguar, it's a huge operation. So, you're up at dawn, you're going out in multiple vehicles in convoy. There's the vet on the ground who's incredible. He's worked for tens of years with big cats and jaguars in particular. So the vet leads. I've got kind of my tag technology with me. The collaring team are also with me. As soon as that vet gives us the go, it's a race against time. So we want to make sure ethically, in terms of the welfare of that jaguar, that we are in and out as quickly as possible. So they want to be collecting hair samples, blood samples, doing a full assessment of that individual jaguar for their research. I'll be attaching my tag onto the collar and working with the collaring team. And by the way, the jaguar's been darted. It's all kind of this incredibly slick process where we need to make sure the jaguar is in a good habitat away from water sources, so it doesn't then go into the water or there's any risk there. We need to make sure that jaguar is away from other jaguars, and there we're kind of attaching the collar, doing all these samples, but completely silently. These jaguars, although they're asleep, they're very sensitive to sound, to our presence. They cover the eyes just to kind of keep the jaguar calm, but you are literally, face to face with this beautiful male. And in our case, we'd just been tracking this individual for weeks. So it was a real honour to be standing there and be so close to such an incredible predator. So within about 15 minutes, we're wrapping up. The collar is on, and then the vet gives the antidote, so the jaguar will start to wake up. We put him in the shade and just stand back and let the rest happen. And without literally a few minutes later, that jaguar was back up on its feet, a little bit dazed, but carrying on as if nothing had happened. So it's a pretty crazy process, I'll be honest. Tagging work is crucial for building up an understanding of these lives of the jaguar, which, as we know now, much of their habitat has been fragmented and they face huge pressures with, overlapping urban environments as well. So, yeah.
How do you prepare yourself? Because not only are you going out and doing the physical labor of going out and tagging jaguars, but you're also on camera. So how do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, I mean, you're in a hostile environment. The Pantanal in the rainy season is full of mosquitoes, totally full. And you're in searing heat, you're in unpredictable weather. You get really nailed by the elements, let's say. So little things for me are quite important. Part of that is actually making sure that I'm trying to look after myself, even down to skincare and things. So, I've washed my face. I've used a cleanser that I know. I'm comfortable. I'm not going to have kind of big welts and bites and everything that I have to deal with in the moment, because actually that's at the bottom of my list when I'm there trying to successfully tag a jaguar. I really don't want that being a distraction or something that's in the way in terms of actually completing the work. So I've got all my hair kind of in a French plait, out my face, ready to go. I'll spend a bit of time in the morning doing that. It also allows me just to have a bit of time to breathe. I guess it's a bit of something that's kind of happened just as a byproduct of getting myself camera ready, if you like. It's a rare 10, 20 minutes in the beginning of the day. I love mornings, but it's time where I can just use that to just have calm, no distractions. I'll literally just be getting ready, and then as soon as I'm kind of good to go, I've got that confidence and I'm ready for anything.
In the first season of this podcast, we interviewed this guy named Carl Ray, who is Michelle Obama's makeup artist. He's done makeup for politicians and kings and queens and Supreme Court justices. And what was so interesting about speaking to him is that actually the importance of doing a politician's makeup is to make it so that their appearance is not a distraction, so that people can focus on what they're trying to say, the message. Their appearance should kind of disappear behind their messaging. And I'm wondering if you feel if that resonates with you as well, because scientific communication is so important to you.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. It's really not about looking good for others when you're in the field. I actually think self-care for me, it's about being practical, really. It's about knowing, I guess, what makes me feel good inside and out. And having a daily routine, having hair that I know's not going to be absolutely destroyed when I get back and I'm not going to be able to maintain in my day-to-day life, like that means that I have energy to give to my science, to give to the storytelling, to really give to why I'm there. The other limitation I've found over the years is I've actually got psoriasis. It's a skin condition that essentially you get kind of flaky skin that flares up. And there can be a variety of triggers, but for me, it's very stress-induced. If I'm not sleeping well, if I'm not looking after myself, I'll get these big flare-ups. And over the years, that has been really something that I've found I had to prioritize. In the beginning, I didn't really care, to be honest. Yes, it was painful. I had cracked skin, it would bleed. I'd try and use all types of steroid creams and things. And actually, they weren't working for me. And it did get in the way of me doing my job. People would pick up on it. People would comment on it. There'd be makeup artists trying to cover it for studio recordings for my job on screen. And actually, that in itself was an issue because I'm not there giving all my attention and all my care to the thing that I'm there to do, which is the science, it is the research, it is the storytelling. Over the years, I've started light therapy, so it's using a narrow band of light, UVB light, to target that skin. And for me, that's just what I found has worked. And it's gone such a long way. It removes that distraction, it removes that worry. So I can focus completely on my role as a scientist and as a communicator without that distraction. And really, you know, when the cameras are off, when there's not big crews and research teams and big projects going on, when I'm just at home, I do want to have that self-confidence and belief and not have that worry or pain, actually, from things like my skin conditions. So it's been a really big part of me growing up as a woman as well.
Okay, my final question is, what do you hope viewers take away from your work?
Oh, such a good question. For me, you know, a big driver is, I guess, giving back for our planet, like climate change, climate crisis, biodiversity loss, mass extinctions. It can be really easy to get bogged down in the reality of the situation. But from my work, I'm hoping that people will be inspired to know that they are part of the solutions. You know, meeting people as part of my job has to be one of the most wonderful things. Getting to amplify their work, getting to connect with them and share ideas and turn that into policy, turn that into real change on the ground. You know, I want that excitement, that love, that passion to connect with people. But whatever you do, you know, take the time to notice that you are part of this natural world, and that can only be one of the most empowering things.
I do admire Lizzie, but that's why I have a farm. Domestic animal, much easier to approach, and lesser mosquitoes. I also play animals in my film, so I tell the story of how they behave, but I play them. I don't have to deal with a jaguar who might wake up. You know, I love birds because color, I think it's very important for them. Not only they sing and they dance, but they use colors. My chicken, for example, they see partially in the ultraviolet range that we cannot see. A rooster might look very colorful to us, but he will look even more colorful to his chickens. And I have turkeys too. I love turkeys, but to some people, looking at their necks and faces with no feathers and all this bump and wrinkle, they may not look very beautiful. But these bump and wrinkles look very beautiful to other turkeys, and they can change colors. They can go from white to bluish to red. I'm sure it's a way to communicate. To female turkeys, they're beautiful. And to the male, it might be also a way to communicate among themselves who's the strongest. And color, of course, plays an important role in human communication too. For our next story, we hear from our producer Eva, who also happens to be a neuroscientist, to help us understand the relationship between color and the human psyche.
Reds, blues, greens, yellows. At their most basic, the colours we enjoy are just different wavelengths of reflected light that we perceive through specialised cells in the back of our eyes called cone cells. Now, as humans, we have 3 types of these cells: red, blue and green. And when stimulated by light, they set off a chain reaction of electrical activity in the brain. And the visual cortex, which for us humans is located at the back of the brain, gets busy processing and interpreting the world around us. This is all well and good, and neuroscientists have understood the basic process of how we see colour for a long time. But what I wanted to know is, how do we feel colour? You know what I mean. Yellow is happy, blue is sad, red is sexy, and green is relaxing, right? And it turns out it's not just me. Psychologists have been trying to unpick how we ascribe meaning to the colours around us for a long time. They've even travelled around the world showing people colours, or colour words, and asking them what emotion they associate with them. Turns out we are remarkably consistent as a species, no matter where we are. Yellow and orange are generally seen as positive, for example, whereas red is empowering and linked to intense feelings. And green and white are also positive, but linked to less heightened emotions. There's an incredible 80 to 95% consistency around the globe. With that level of similarity, the next question is this something we learn, or an innate part of human nature? Well, further studies have shown that as much as we adore colour, and certain colours can hold deep personal meaning to us, the link between a specific colour and their associated emotion is likely to be learned. As children, perhaps our caregivers pointed out the sun as a happy yellow. It's even in our language. To be feeling blue is to be feeling sad. And this makes sense, right? Imagine if every single time you saw the colour blue you felt very sad, or every time you saw yellow you instantly felt happy. The world would be totally overwhelming. The exception seems to be the colour red. Some studies have shown that exposure to red light can increase your heart rate and blood pressure, and it does seem to be an evolutionarily important colour. Imagine ancient humans sitting around a fire where red and orange would represent warmth and safety. Our cheeks flush red when we're excited, or angry, or even aroused, which is very helpful when needing to communicate our emotional state to one another. Perhaps this is why red lipstick holds such historical and cultural significance for us. After all, ancient Mesopotamia's Queen Puabi, also known as Shubat, was wearing a red lip back in 3500 BC. Fundamentally, we evolved to see colour to help us make sense of our environment. Is this fruit ripe? Is it likely to rain? Is this insect going to poison me? Is this person my friend or foe? So whether the way purple or yellow or green makes us feel is something we're born with or something we learn, what's clear to me is that we're still using colour as a language to better understand each other, the world, and ourselves.
So it seems that the colour red is important for us as it is for turkeys. The red lipstick has always been something I like a lot. In fact, when I had to do a quick makeup, the thing that I do is red lipstick. In fact, it is the same for our next guest.
What color lipstick is that?
Red. I don't know the name.
Why do you like to use it?
Because I feel powerful.
That's the objective of red lipstick.
Yeah.
That is Juliana Farias, L'Oréal Group's head of research and innovation for Latin America. She's based in Brazil. Our producer Gigi spoke to her about how the country has become an open sky laboratory for studying hair.
So my job overall is really to lead the agenda of innovation of L'Oréal in our region, to really inspire the world and create solutions for the world in beauty. So I come from the food science field, so a little bit different, but the science is the same. We are using the senses really to receive the stimuli and then to process it and then to decide if we like, if we don't like about it. And then when we understand that, we as scientists can report to the developers and make them understand it better and to make better products. So there is some difference because one, use more your taste, your nose, etc. From the beauty, you use a lot your eyes, your touch, but also your smelling and sensing the smell, etc. There are some differences, but at the end of the day, the science is applied the same way.
Really interesting. And so you're from Brazil. Can you tell me a bit about what Brazil's relationship with beauty is like? How is it culturally important for Brazilians?
We have a strong relationship with beauty. It's very important for us. We are the fourth market in the world in beauty. We spend our money in beauty because it makes us feel happy. It's really related to the pleasure, how it makes us feel happy. And this is very interesting because we have a research on that to understand what is the key motivation for people to use beauty across the globe. In Brazil, the first key motivation is happiness. When we compare, for example, to the Americans in US, it's healthy. When we compare to the European, it's self-esteem. It's really related to pleasure. Brazilians like to do the beauty routines, the procedures. Even if we try to sometimes help them in simplifying their routines, many of them want simplification, but they also enjoy the journey of treating themselves to feel beautiful and happy.
I love that. Why has Brazil become a go-to destination for scientists and researchers studying hair?
Because here we have such a diversity of hair types that can really represent the world. We've done a study some years ago in many places of the globe that could classify the hair types, the different hair types across the world. And we've made a classification from types 1 to 8. In Brazil, we are the only country in the world where you can find the 8 types of hair in a representative manner. And why that? We are a country with really mixed races. We mix all together because of our history. When Europeans arrived here during the colony period, they found here the native people, the indigenous that were here. And from a bad reason of our history, there was also the coming of many slaves from Africa. Brazil is the country that received the biggest amount of slaves from Africa here, and the people mixed together. And today, we really have that represented in our population. It's really more than half of our population that is mixed, and this is represented on our skin tones and hair types. Also, here, we live under extreme conditions of temperature, for example, of heat, of humidity, very close to the sea. So those offenses from the environment make our routines more challenging. So we need the solutions to really treat the freeze on high humidity, the sun effect of the hair, the salt effect from the sea, etc. So that's why we are considered here in Brazil like an open-air lab, let's say. And the third reason I would say is because our consumers are really demanding. And because they like really to treat themselves and they feel happy about that, they create several things. They create several routines. They try different things to manage their hair. Sometimes they want to have one look. The other day, they want to have another look. So they are creative. Is also a motivation for the ones that want to study hair.
Amazing. And so what kind of scientific innovations have come out of Brazil that have had ripple effects elsewhere in the world?
One of the important moments that we've had here in this hub was when we've decoded the expectations of consumers for hair treatments, which are very important for the type of hair that we have here. There was a verbatim of consumers. When they used the product, a hair treatment that they really loved, they said that the hair was desmaiando. O cabelo desmaia. The hair faints. And we were decoding what was that. Imagine that you are Brazilian with very curly hair, damaged hair, with all the environmental conditions that I was telling to you. When she washes her hair inside the shower, the hair with the shampoo is very tangled. Sometimes it's very hard to manage this hair. So they wanted a hair treatment that was fanting their hair. When they apply it, the absorption was immediate. The transformation was immediate, that the hair was super supple and they felt the treatment on the hair. And they understood that the sensory cue was exactly what provided the performance they wanted. So when we've understood that, we've developed one of the most iconic conditioners that we have in the group. Today is the most produced one in the world. It's one of the products that we have in Elseve from L'Oréal Paris here in Brazil. And this development helped us in this hub to turn around the history of Elseve and made ourselves today leaders in Brazil and in Latin America, and also inspired the world to be using this treatment everywhere.
So what can the rest of the world learn from Brazil's approach to beauty?
I think this passion that consumers have and this connection with the emotions, that is the field that we want to evolve more for the future. I think that our creativity, the way that we find solutions for our consumers when they don't have a product in the market, they create it. They inspire us, and I'm also talking about our scientists. I think we have here a level of creativity and connections that make ourselves really a reference in the group on the way we work and the way we innovate.
Whether it's a beauty ritual empowering scientists in the field, beautiful colors shaping our psychology, or our environment and history evolving research methods for new products, beauty and science are connected. Thank you to our guests Lizzie Daly and Juliana Farias for speaking with us. Our theme music is by Jim Brumberg and Ben Landsberg of Wonderly. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on our new episodes. And if you don't mind rating and reviewing so that other listeners can find us. And if you haven't listened yet, the back catalog from season 1 is now available. Next, we will be exploring the unexpected ways in which beauty has impacted health. I'm Isabella Rossellini, and thank you for listening to This Is Not a Beauty Podcast, brought to you by L'Oréal Groupe.